Hi, in this short video, I'm going to discuss with you how to create the expository literary analysis. So before you click stop because you're already bored with this video, I encourage you to take the time to watch the entire video or listen to it and make sure that you understand this project better. And so I'm going to give you some tools. I'm going to show you an outline and briefly cover some characteristics of academic writing to help set you up for success. The paper, and hopefully most people have looked at this by this point, but the paper or essay that we're referring to is found under writing assignments, and you can see the complete description of this essay under writing assignments, number 1, expository literary analysis. I encourage you to look at that, but for the sake of this video, to save time, I'm going to just talk about the characteristics separately in a very quick PowerPoint. But do read the full assignment. There is a printable assignment sheet. You can take it with you if you're going to a tutor or getting some kind of help so that the other person helping you can understand what the assignment is. But that is there. So this assignment is based on the American Romantic movement. That was the most of the content that we read in the very first week of this course and a little bit into the second week. Make sure that you've also viewed the supplementary PowerPoints. They discuss the characteristics of the American Romantic movement. But I'm going to give those to you also here in a very quick PowerPoint. So let's look at this assignment a little closer. I'm going to start out, like I said, this is essay number 1. And this is the expository literary analysis. So it's important to remember that this is an academic writing assignment, so you should use academic language to create this essay and appropriate documentation. In this course, MLA 8 is the expected documentation format. Any other types of format that you may be inclined to use should be avoided because they will cost you points on your final grade, and in this case some major points. So make sure you stick to MLA 8 if you need review. There's MLA help section in the course menu. There is also information on MLA 8 in the textbook. So essay number 1, expository literary analysis. This is an analysis. That means you have to dig down, get a little bit below the surface, and you're going to analyze the literature. That means you're not going to retell the literature that you're examining, but you're going to analyze it and discuss or provide a discussion on how that particular piece of literature exhibits certain qualities that are a part of the American Romantic movement. So here's the assignment. Your assignment is to write an analytical paper. You must use the writing process to create your paper or your essay. That means that it's probably a good idea to create an outline or try to figure out what direction you're going before you just sit down and write. The paper should be 3 to 5 pages in length. The assignment is to analyze any selection from the American Romantic movement assigned on the syllabus. So go back to your syllabus, find something you're interested in discussing, and focus on that. That means that you're going to focus, though, on a single piece of American literature that is on the syllabus. So it's important that you take the time to really think about what you select so that you can select a piece that gives you enough mileage to have a discussion about the American Romantic movement that you can carry on through 3 or 5 pages and support with research. So the minimum requirements for the assignment are a 3 to 5 page paper using MLA style. That means that 2.8 pages is not 3 pages. And these shorter pages, if you give me 2.8 pages, for example, that's subjected to my minimum assignment standards, and in almost all cases is a failing grade. So you must meet minimum requirements of 3 to 5 pages. If you're worried about that, get me a couple of lines on page 4 and you'll be fine. Make sure you use MLA 8 style, not MLA 7, and not APA or some other style format. It must be MLA 8. And then include a works cited page. The works cited page does not count as your minimum page requirements. It's an additional page. That's where your list of sources will be, your complete list of sources. You must have at least 4 sources. One of those sources, of course, should be your textbook because you're going to be writing about something that you found in the textbook. So at least 4 sources. You can have more, but you can't have less. So those are the basic assignment requirements. The assignment is asking you to take one piece of literature and examine it or argue how that piece of literature conforms to the general characteristics of the American Romantic movement. And one of my PowerPoints, I believe it's the PowerPoint that deals with the legend of Sleepy Hollow, I discuss various characteristics of the Romantic movement. Those characteristics include a value in intuition, or the way somebody feels, over reason or intellect. Values in imagination over reality. Romantic writers would feel that civilization is bad, and there's an emphasis on nature as being a good or pure. Educated sophistication is also considered bad, but youthful innocence is valued. Individual freedom is important. Nature is a way to find God. In other words, you can't reason your way to God, but you can use your intuition and your relationship with nature to see that God exists. So nature is emphasized in Romantic writing. Progress is usually seen as bad, especially urbanization and industrialization. And most settings in Romantic writing are exotic or even supernatural. Think of Edgar Allan Poe and some of his settings. So what you're going to do is figure out a few of these characteristics, go to your syllabus, read some of the Romantic writing, find one that you feel best demonstrates some of these characteristics, and you're going to write an essay arguing that particular piece of writing by that particular author is a good example of American Romanticism because it emphasizes a number of these characteristics. So that's the basic idea of the assignment. You don't have to, by the way, use all the characteristics. A good rule of thumb is to at least try to use 3 because that will help with your essay organization. So, basic characteristics of an academic essay. You need to avoid first person. That means you shouldn't be saying I or me in your essay. Avoid second person pronouns as well, like you or you are. Avoid contractions like can't or won't. Spell the whole word out. Cannot, will not. Avoid overly metaphorical or descriptive language. That means that, for instance, sometimes people use expressions like hard as tacks. Those kinds of expressions are metaphorical, they're overly descriptive, and they're easily misunderstood. So you want to avoid that kind of language. So I'm going to give you a basic outline. Your introduction, like all academic introductions, should simply consist of a hook, 3 or 4 sentences of context, and then your thesis. In this essay, the thesis is intended to be an argument. In other words, you're going to argue that a certain piece of literature in this course exhibits key characteristics of the American Romantic movement. So that should be one specific statement identifying that particular piece of literature and the particular characteristics that align it with American Romanticism. From then you'll move to body paragraph 1, and all body paragraphs, by the way, are the same. You'll include a specific topic sentence that states the paragraph's purpose in supporting the thesis. So for instance, you could say in Thanatopsis, William Cullen Bryant exhibits a characteristic of Romanticism when he emphasizes nature in his poem. That's a great topic sentence, and then you're going to transition into research, provide research, which might include textual evidence or outside research. When you include research, you must document that research with textual evidence using correct MLA formatting. That's in its most basic state, the last name and the page number. Then you must explain to the reader how this research or textual evidence supports the topic sentence. Transition to additional research. Provide documentation for that research. Provide an explanation for that research, and conclude your body paragraph. The second body paragraph does the same thing, but is focused on a different characteristic. So if you focused on setting and nature in that first body paragraph, you might focus on the emphasis on innocence or youth in the next body paragraph, if that's applicable. The third paragraph, you'll focus on a third item and do the same thing. In other words, each body paragraph will go through this same process as body paragraph 1, but will present a different aspect to your argument. Your conclusion, when you get to the conclusion, you'll restate your thesis using different language, remind the reader of the key points of the essay that are covered, and then leave the reader with something to consider or take away from the topic. A conclusion should not have any new information presented to the reader. It should simply restate the thesis, remind the reader of items that have been covered in the essay, and leave the reader with something to consider. And finally, you'll have the works cited page. And so here's some reminders and an example of a works cited page in MLA 8 format. Over the top of your works cited page, you're going to center the title Works Cited. Since there's more than one work cited, it's plural, works cited. Use Times New Roman only, 12-point type. Alphabetize citations as they appear on the page. Place your last name and page number in the upper right hand corner of the header region. Double space every line in MLA. Every line from the beginning of your essay to the very end is double spaced. Use a hanging indentation for citations with multiple lines. That means indent all but the first line of a new citation. So you can see in my example that citations begin on the left-hand margin. They're justified left, and then every line that is associated with that particular citation is indented 1 tab space or 5 spaces underneath that initial line. When a new citation is created, it goes back to the left margin, and that process is repeated. MLA 8 style only, don't guess. Use the resources available to you in the course. For example, there's resources available to you in the MLA help section of the course menu. But please don't guess, because MLA on my essays is worth quite a bit of point values. So you want to maximize your effort. In terms of source material, don't use study guides or Wikipedia or other encyclopedias. Guides like Shmoop or eNotes or any of those kinds of things are not appropriate academic sources. Remember to italicize major titles and put quotations or place subtitles like chapter titles or poems in a collection in quotation marks. Major titles, again, are italicized. Subtitles are in quotation marks. All citations end with a period. So no matter what's going on at the end of your citation, you must end a citation with a period. The works cited page does not count towards minimum page count requirements. So this is my brief video on getting you started with this particular essay. Remember, if you have any questions along the way, I'm just an email away. Please email me and let me know. I'll be glad to help.